All right, everybody, what is going on? Welcome back to another episode of Grid Encore. I'm your host, Ben Schneider, alongside, as always, Brandon Crossland. Brandon, how's it going tonight?
Going well, Ben, and appreciating these last episodes we have here with Grid Encore and the OG crew. And it's another Motor Monday. Let's enjoy them while they're here. And we got Talladega to look at, so nothing short of, as far as content to talk about here. And also the United States Grand Prix catching our attention. Well, maybe.
Yeah, we'll see. We've got a shorter show tonight. Obviously, only two races to talk about on our regular schedule, Xfinity and Trucks at Talladega. So I'm sure we'll talk a little bit about what happened in the Cup race, and then the F1 title battle that is heating up far more than I think a lot of people would have thought it would just a couple of months ago. We may get into that a little bit later depending on time, but in the meantime, I want to say hello to Adam first. Crazy Xfinity Series race at Talladega. Glad to have been there. Got to go at least once in your lifetime. It is on my bucket list. I got to say that. So
waiting to go. Yep.
Yeah. Glad you're here in the chat, Adam, and hope you had a good time. And we are glad, as always, for the support that our Patreon investors give us. Calendar Shell, Mark, Robin, David, Matthew, and Crystal, our newest one. Thank you so much for your continued support of what we do here at the Grid Network. And if you like what you see tonight, even though we've only got 4 shows left here on the Encore show, the Grid team is certainly still going to be around trying to build this motorsports media outlet up for 2026 and beyond. So if you want to contribute to that growth and support this channel, you can follow the link to join them in the description box below to our Patreon page, or if you'd rather make a one-time tip to us instead, you can tip us through Super Chat if you're watching us live on YouTube, or visit the Buy Me a Coffee link in the description box below as well. Get your name on the leaderboard right here. Tip as much as you want. Help fill Brandon's Motor Monday mug. Help me buy another can of Baja Blast here, and I've got the Baja Blast for a reason. Truck Series television viewers might know exactly what I'm talking about here, and we'll get into that a little bit later. But first, let's lead off with the NASCAR Xfinity Series race and talk about the race winner, Austin Hill, who, again, I think really regretting what he did at Indianapolis. Maybe he is, maybe he isn't. I don't know. Knowing him, he might not be, but regretting not having those 21 playoff points, because his win, and this is interesting, Brandon, for the second week in a row, the 21 team still alive in the Owners' Championship. So he will join Eric Almirola in the 19 car and fighting for an owner's title at Phoenix in a couple of weeks' time. But, of course, Austin Hill eliminated from a driver's championship. So the two championships going to look quite a bit different in the Xfinity Series this year. But first and foremost, what was your reaction to one of NASCAR's, I guess we could say, less popular drivers at this point, stealing the win from the playoff competitors at Talladega on Saturday?
Ben, it's just really annoying, and it already was before we got to Dega. But here's a guy who maybe didn't learn his lesson after one, nay, 2 slaps on the wrist. Indianapolis, you think you would have felt bad after that. Watkins Glen, you think you may have felt bad after that. Some fines, some docking of points, and just enough. Hey, look, lo and behold, you didn't have enough to make it into the round of 8 and into the championship 4, and you didn't get to advance. You get a win at Talladega. I think after learning my lesson once and twice, and maybe finally coming to the senses, any sane person here, I feel like, would, if you win Talladega after this point, you would come back around to the long front stretch, salute the fans, say, can't wait for 2026. Really shot myself in the foot this year. Boy, wish I could take that back. Something like that. Not Austin Hill. Dang it, Bobby. Comes around there and tells everyone in the Birmingham area that they are number 1.
Oh, I don't know, Jim. I think he actually did kind of salute the fans there. I don't know if you saw that image, Jim, but okay, I'll stop with the Tony Romo impression.
It was that solidifies it. I mean, this man is relentless in all the worst possible ways. There is a tweet that I did pick up, I think either today or yesterday, that we've got here for you. Credit to Luce's Fast podcast. Again, never heard of these folks, but they are spot on here. At the risk of kicking up a hornet's nest, an open letter to Austin Hill. Take that, haters. Let's go. Small reality check, bud. You're not Denny Hamlin or Kyle Busch. You haven't won so much. We are sick of it. Nobody hates you because you're too good. People, quote unquote, hate you because of you, or at least the version you keep showing us. You're the first to right rear someone or wreck a teammate, then the first to preach about setting an example, only to do it again the following week. It's literally the reason you're not in the playoffs now, and this win means nothing in the grand scheme of things. You're not a heel, you're just a butthead. Congrats on winning Talladega, by the way. So, yeah, I don't hate Austin Hill. Again, Ben, you know me. I'll never say I hate somebody, regardless of their behavior. But they're talking from the fans' perspective. You're disliked strongly because you're not even a good villain. You're not even a cool villain. You're not Denny Hamlin. You're not legacy Kyle Busch. I'd say Kyle Busch is more on the hero arc nowadays. But the journeyman hero. But you're not even a good villain. You're like Green Goblin, like pushing kids off a bridge. Like, you're just mean. You're a bully, and you're not learning your lesson. You're doing actual dangerous things that could kill people. Like, and you've done it not once but twice, and you're not showing any signs of repentance. I mean, it's you can it's like something is like I didn't think but in years previous I did not think Austin Hill was like, this is who he is. And I hope it's not who he is. I hope he's just having an off year, something behind the scenes. But I'd love to give him the benefit of the doubt, but he's had a couple of chances, at least in the public eye. Okay, I never met him at Waffle House. At least in the public eye, this is who he's revealed himself to be. You cannot expect people to applaud you or to have any sort of respect for you in the condition that you're showing yourself as right now. So yeah, this is, and it's all your own doing. So congratulations.
I get what you're saying, Brandon, but I do have to point out the sucker punch with Myatt Snyder a few years ago at Martinsville, and I think Austin probably thought that the cameras weren't directly in his face, but I still remember that. You remember the old NBC graphics, NBC EE, and they'd zoom in, and it was all pixelated, but you could clearly tell it was Austin Hill, and you could clearly tell that somebody went down, seemingly knocked out cold. I don't know. I feel like if that's who he is when the cameras aren't in front of his face. Again, I've never met him either. I suppose I have been at Sonoma the last several years on the same premises and facilities.
Been in the vicinity.
We've never crossed paths. I can't speak to any interactions with him. And yeah, I want to be completely fair when I say that, but I have not seen any evidence to the contrary. I'll put it that way, I guess, that this isn't who he is, regardless of whether or not he's in the public eye or not. So, again, and I would even venture to say, Brandon, it goes beyond Indianapolis and Watkins Glen. We saw it at Daytona on the last lap, just completely. I think it was Nick Sanchez in the 48, just door slamming him, and that ultimately led to the last lap crash. I know last lap crashes at super speedways are hardly unheard of, but it still leaves a bit of a sour taste in my mouth what happened there, especially coming off of those two incidents. And then Portland, even though I wasn't there this year, I did get to watch the race and see how he was driving in those closing laps. And can't say I was particularly a huge fan of the driving standards that he showed there either. So again, I think it is fitting. I'm glad that he is not going to be in contention for a driver's title. I'm sure there are very hard-working people on that 21 car that have been swept up in controversy through no fault of their own because of what their driver's done this year. And if they win a championship this year on the owner's side, then good for them, I suppose. Still not a fan of Richard Childress trying to pass his multi-time championship-winning organization with multiple Fortune 500 sponsors off as a blue-collar team that gets given trouble all the time by NASCAR. But I digress. So we'll just have to wait and see what happens in a couple of weeks at Phoenix. But again, Austin Hill certainly missing those 21 playoff points that he would have had, because he'd be punching his ticket to the championship 4 at Phoenix. Instead, he's going to have to settle for an owner's championship berth because he is not in the championship 4. Connor Zilisch and Justin Allgaier are, however. Again, we could obviously see a new winner at Martinsville, and then I guess Allgaier would be the one most likely left out of that owner's championship picture because the 19 and 21 are already locked in to that championship. But we'll go through the results here a little bit. Let's catch up on the chat before we scroll to the second page here. Adam Lemery's giving some shout outs here. Leland Honeyman in 8th was up there when he had to be. Blaine Perkins 6th, impressive run there as well. I want to shout out Cesar Baccarella, top 5 finish, very strong result for that team. Iceman says both JGR's 19 and RCR's 21 made the owners' Final 4. We have 6 cars fighting for a championship at Phoenix, yet another confusing aspect of the playoffs. Yeah, I don't disagree. Again, you know me, I value the owners' championship, and I still believe that one of the most underrated championship battles in NASCAR history actually happened the first year that I watched the sport full time, and it involved RCR. Which, of course, in what was then the Busch Series, Jeff Burton and Scott Wimmer were splitting the 29 car that year, and everybody talked about how Carl Edwards was running away with drivers' championship. But it was the 29 team, the Holiday Inn car, that took the fight to Roush's 60 on the owner's side. So, certainly not the first time that we could have a split there. I think Sam Hornish actually finished second at Homestead several years ago. I think that was the year William Byron won the title, and there was a split championship there as well. And there's the image of Penske and Hendrick doing a hat swap on the championship stage. So could be an interesting scene here, depending on what happens. And we'll get into Connor Zilisch here in just a moment because it was not a great day for him. First time in 18 weeks that we've been able to say that, I guess, about the 88 team. But Iceman also saying, I'm picking Sammy Smith to win at Martinsville. Carson Kvapil pointing his way in, making it an all JRM Final 4. Yeah, there you go. Obviously won't be that on the owner's side. They'll have to settle for 2 of the 4 at most, but you could see that, I suppose, if that's the scenario that you're going with. Let's go over one more comment here from Iceman. I value the owner's championship too. They almost never talk about it, and it makes me upset. Hopefully that'll change with a change of format, whatever they'll do next year. Yeah, and I think you see part of that has gone away with the fact that drivers do have to choose which of the top 3 series they compete in now. You see fewer rotations of drivers. A lot of teams utilize a full-time driver, and assuming that driver doesn't miss any races or get suspended for anything or whatever, it really, there's a lot more overlap than there used to be, or always has been in the Cup Series, I guess you could say, in Xfinity and trucks because of the amount of full-time drivers that we have now. But even the 88 team, people remember Connor Zilisch obviously had to sit out at Texas after he got hurt in the spring Talladega race. I don't believe but Kyle Larson's win, because he's a Cup driver, I don't believe that they get to benefit from the playoff points because of that. But technically speaking, the 88 has had multiple drivers this year as well. So it is an interesting little wrinkle in the championship battle that I think is worth talking about, especially in situations like this. Let's move on to the second page here. Let's talk about Connor Zilisch a little bit. Got caught up in one of the early wrecks in the race, had to settle for 23rd. So that streak, like I mentioned, 18 consecutive top 5 finishes, the longest such streak in series history, comes to an end. Brandon, what was your reaction to Connor's race on Saturday and this incredible streak that I think we kind of have been taking for granted the last several weeks with how good Connor's been all year?
Yeah, he was almost, I think Dave Moody pointed out on X that he was almost, any more wins, they'd have to take Exalta off the race car, one of the supporting sponsors there for the 88, because, I mean, you look at that's going to be a nice race win diecast if he can pick up Martinsville or Phoenix and take the title, because you're going to have all those win stickers that go all the way across the top. But yeah, it's it's got to come to an end eventually, and this would be a probable venue for that to happen. Talladega being so unpredictable, and just hate it for his sponsor there, First Bank. They've sponsored with Junior Motorsports, I think with the one car in recent years, and kind of every Talladega event they like to get on there. I don't think they've ever gotten a win yet, from my memory. And I feel like this was like their big chess move. Like, you know what, we're going to be on Connor Zilich's machine this year. Surely we're going to pick up the win. But for a sponsor that only picks up one race of the year or two races a year, I kind of felt bad because that's they went with the shoe-in kind of pick, I guess, for with 10 races on the year and counting. But yeah, unfortunate there for him. I did have one more thought about Austin Hill though, before we move on any further.
Sure,
yeah, like as silly as he's been, like this does not take away from his super speedway talent at all for me. And you might disagree with that, but just undeniable talent as far as getting it done on the drafting tracks. And it's just he's chasing history, making history. But the last thing I have for him is a quote from Strip Weathers. You got more talent in one lug nut than a lot of cars have got in their whole body, but you're stupid. I think that goes a long way, even today, for the one Austin Hill.
Yeah, well, I don't disagree with that. It's funny, Brandon, you mentioned going with the shoe-in of Counter Zilisch, and I was going to come back and say, well, a place like Talladega, it's hard to consider anybody a shoe-in, but I guess
it is. But that's the place they want to sponsor, though.
Yeah, that's for sure. But when you talk about Austin Hill on super speedways in the Xfinity Series, I'm trying to pull up the Cup Series results here. It looks like he ended up 22nd in the Cup race yesterday, so certainly sure he would have preferred to have a little bit of a stronger run in that race. But yeah, I mean, the talent, and we've talked about this on Grid Tonight, I think, with Max Verstappen, who I don't think has been as much of a menace out on the track necessarily as Austin Hill has. He has certainly pushed the envelope of what is clean racing versus not so clean racing. But I can't recall Verstappen ever right rear hooking somebody at 180 miles an hour, with no safer barrier at Indianapolis. But the talent, you can say what you will about his driving standards and his attitude or whatever. It doesn't take away from the talent that he has. And in Austin Hill's case, it is certainly evident that he is, I think, objectively by a mile, the best super speedway racer in the Xfinity Series and has been for years. And it's unfortunate that we don't celebrate that a little bit more often. And I think the reason we don't celebrate that more often is because of incidents like what we've seen throughout this summer. And again, I can only hope that, especially now that he can look back on what he accomplished during the playoffs and think to himself, what might have been, maybe could have been fighting for a championship at Phoenix, a driver's championship, of course, that is. And that's not going to be the case because of what he did earlier this year.
Yeah, I just wonder if that thought process goes through his mind. And also I still scratch my head with the whole Richard Childress Racing organization and just look what he's been, he represents our company. He represents United Rentals and everyone that we've signed on with him. Look what he's done to represent us this year, and look what might have been. Look what he cost. Look what he cost himself and us this year. It's mind-boggling that it's just a shrug of a shoulder. I have no idea why, but if they can't get it done with Jesse Love, you're gonna be thinking, well, why did this happen?
Yeah, I didn't even think about that. Fitting, I guess, that Austin, and I think he's done that before with Bennett at Atlanta. Now, when I think about it, right? The United Rentals 250, the title sponsor of the race. Yeah, fitting winner right there. Cue the conspiracy theories. Not really, obviously, but that's no. Yeah. I guess fitting in more ways than one that he ended up picking up this win, but.
Well, there's a reason they pick up those events because
I guess so,
they know he's coming.
They know that that's the best chance, I guess, for that to happen.
Yep.
One final note before we move on to trucks. I want to send our best to William Sawalich. Unfortunately, this is the second Xfinity race in a row where we've had to talk about this, but Sawalich was not checked and released from the infield care center. He was instead taken to a local hospital for further evaluation. He was released the following morning. JGR and William himself putting out statements. So hopefully he's going to be okay for Martinsville this week. I don't have the entry list pulled up on another tab here, but as far as I know, I haven't heard anything about his availability. And I believe, he is still on the preliminary entry list for Martinsville this week. So I would assume that means that he's going to be clear and ready to go. We certainly hope that is the case, and hope that if he's still sore at all or has any lingering minor injuries from the accident, that it's a full speedy recovery for him as soon as possible. So sending our best to Zilisch there. All right, we move on now to the NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series, and Corey Heim following a teammate home in second place. Obviously already locked in to Phoenix and the championship favorite, but we want to send our congratulations to Giovanni Ruggiero on picking up his first win in the NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series. And Brandon, I have to say, Truck Series race that finished cleanly with no accidents at the very end there. I think a nice change of pace for a series where I can't remember the last time we got a green flag finish, at least with 100% clean racing. We might have not thrown the caution at the end for the wreck that happened in the tri-oval, but nice change of pace, I think, to be able to get a truly clean finish at Talladega. We don't get that very often these days.
No, we don't. It's unbelievable for the Craftsman Truck Series or at a place where I've heard you say time and time again on this program how they should just stop going there entirely, just because of how treacherous it is, and how typically inexperienced these drivers are, and they don't need to be. I mean, but this is how you get the experience. But still, they've shown time and time again that it doesn't, for the product's sake, maybe best to not be there at all. But yeah, they put together a clean show, all things considered, and especially coming to the end, couldn't believe that was able to stay green.
Yeah, well, and they do still go to Daytona, so if they took Talladega off the schedule, I suppose you'd be getting super speedway racing there. But
you'd have no Talladega experience in going into the Xfinity Series. So I like that they get to go there, and hopefully we can get some more repetition of clean finishes.
ARCA, though, you could go to ARCA to get the super speedway experience too. So
that is true.
There is that. I've said, but I would love to see the trucks at New Smyrna. That's probably a pipe dream, but maybe instead of Daytona, go to New Smyrna Speedway to open the year, or do a Daytona backstretch, the short oval like the K&N East cars did for a couple years. That would be a lot of fun. Maybe not.
You don't want to break into the World Series of Asphalt's party.
Maybe it's a fun pipe dream idea. I'm just spitballing here. Maybe not viable for one of the national touring series. I guess live pit stops would be pretty difficult as well. But again, just throwing an idea out there. But I thought overall a pretty decent race with a couple of exceptions. We'll get into those right here, right now. First of all, and I was so frustrated by this, I actually put a question out asking honestly. It wasn't a rhetorical question. I genuinely wanted to know. Stage 2 was 20 laps. The green flag flew for the first time in the second stage on lap 7 of stage 2. That means that for the stage caution to end stage 1, we ran 30% of stage 2 under a yellow for what exactly? It's a stage break. There's no debris or oil or accident on the track that needs to be repaired. Why are the stage cautions? First of all, why do they exist to begin with? We tried that in 2023 on the road courses, and I thought it worked relatively well. Again, you know me. I wouldn't like to see the stages at all, but I think people complained that the road courses were getting too strung out, and NASCAR didn't even wait to the end of the season to reverse course on that, unfortunately, in my opinion. Unfortunately. But man, that's so frustrating to me. The stages are already much shorter in a series where the races are already much shorter. Why are we wasting so much time under yellow? And why is anybody out there advocating for less green flag racing? That's really, I thought we were all race fans here. When you institute stage cautions and you make them so much longer than they need to be, I mean, do the TV networks just need that much more commercial time? I guess they do. We'll get into that in just a moment here as well. It's frustrating as a viewer, I got to tell you. So, Brad, I'm sorry. I don't know if you feel the same way about it or what.
Yeah, I mean, that is frustrating when there's, when the goal is to have more green flag action, and creates something that you don't. I was just reminiscing to those few short road course races where we didn't have stage cautions. That's kind of where my mind was heading, honestly. Was thinking about Watkins Glen and like, wow, it was nice to just let the race flow, organically, how it, used to. And then we got the whole reverse when we went back to the Roval, like, oh, we're going to put it back. People don't like it. And yeah, you and I were having a good time there for the few races there. I think we had also the Indianapolis road course done that way with Michael McDowell getting the win.
I remember saying on the show, you cannot change your rules in the middle of your season, let alone in the middle of your playoffs. But
yeah, that was annoying.
The rules are made up and the points don't matter, right? Whose racing series is it anyway, right? Let's do one final, hopefully one final rant here because, like I said, do we have okay, let's go to Iceman first here. See Iceman here in the chat. Either have it so stage caution laps don't count towards race distance, or no stages are doing stage racing wrong. I saw that proposal quite a bit, but honestly, I don't know. I'm all about consistency, and I think if stage cautions, if you're going to throw up a caution and you're going to run laps, I think you have to count the laps. Because if you're not going to count the laps under those cautions, I don't think you can count the laps under any cautions, and I don't want to see that happen because we already, although with overtime, I guess it's already screwed up enough as it is. The crew chiefs calculate fuel and how much those numbers factor into strategies that they're calling at the end, fuel mileage and everything. I don't know. I feel like that would mess it up even a little bit more. I remember people were talking about that when we used to go to Road America about how the track is 4 miles long and maybe you have a short loop or run the short course, or maybe do the same thing. We race the short course now at Coda anyway, but maybe under caution, don't run the full circuit. And I don't like that either, because again, you're cutting, you're now making the race distance less than it would have been had the race been run fully under green flag conditions, just to be able to save time or to make
that changes fuel numbers and everything.
Yeah. I don't like that idea. And again, it was like, we see it now in the Cup Series, like the fuel mileage or the fuel saving tactics. And I still remember, I think it was a couple years ago, AJ Allmendinger was running by himself. He was off sequence, had some sort of issue, had to come down pit road, and he was running by himself like 5 miles an hour faster than the whole pack was, because the pack was just saving fuel. And I don't know and then they come out and say like, maybe we should add a fourth stage, or we should change the stage lengths. And I think to myself, the solution is right in front of you. We were just fine without stages for, what was it, 66, 68 years of NASCAR racing. We survived until 2017 without needing them. Why do we?
All of a sudden we needed them.
Yeah. And now people have figured out that strategies have pretty much been gutted, because everybody's forced onto the same strategy because you have cautions being thrown, and when the cautions are going to be thrown. Again, it's not only the road courses. You see it at the super speedways with the fuel saving, and see it at some intermediates and short tracks as well. When a caution's coming, it makes it a lot harder to think outside the box there, at least at the beginning part of the race. So again, I understand the sentiment. I understand thinking that might be an interesting proposal, but I think in reality, it probably wouldn't work as well as intended.
Well, I think you need to break out the ball blast here for this next bit.
Yes, we do. Also, I've been talking so much, even in the 29 minutes we've been on the show, I need a quick sip of something there. But well, like I said at the start, we've only got 4 shows left. I think we just for old time's sakes, we got to do one more classic rant on Fox Sports coverage.
Just don't burn all your bridges, Ben. Don't burn all your bridges.
I'm not. That's any bridge that I'm going to burn today has been burned for a while already here. So, and I'm going to keep it professional. I'm not in the back seat of my car going full kamikaze game style. I don't have David Land's Puma hat on.
Legends.
To get that reference, you're a real one. No, I'm not.
Puma hat engaged.
Yes. Man, just I say this every time we go back to Super Speedway. I feel like I say this every year with Fox Sports. I can never understand how I continue to get more and more disappointed. And it's not like I have high expectations now. I just continue to be amazed at how much lower the bar can drop for Fox Sports. And just on the last lap alone, coming to the finish alone, and I don't want to attack Jamie Little again on a personal level. And I feel bad doing it because I know she's been here for 5 years and she gets a lot of criticism online, but there was just, and part of this is on the others in the booth as well. I believe it was Brad Keselowski and Michael Waltrip, if I remember correctly, but just no energy at all for a first-time winner and a clean finish coming to the line at Talladega. I mean, you got to get a little excited. You got to show some emotion there, and just the cadence was so nonchalant. I mean, I thought Vince Welch lacked energy when he was in the play-by-play booth, and Jamie Little, again, unfortunately, just I do not believe that this is the best place for her to be showcasing her talents for Fox Sports. And then they go to commercial. They miss the burnout. And I liked what CW did the next day, by the way. They even had a title sponsor for the burnout, Krispy Kreme.
Krispy Kreme.
I don't know how intentional that was. That was a slight dig at Fox Sports. But one question in the start-finish line interview, and it was, how do you feel? How does it feel? And I majored in communications, and I remember being told that the worst question you can ask somebody in a moment like that is, how do you feel? Or how does it feel to have done this? Or how does it feel to not have done this? And and the reason that that's such a poor question to ask is because the result should be obvious. The outcome should be obvious. How do you think the athlete that you're interviewing in that moment is going to feel? In Gio's case, he just won his first career race in the Truck Series. I would imagine he's feeling pretty good. And then they ask that one question, and that's it. You know, and again, people know where I stand on the Fred Stretch versus Victory Lane debate. I would much rather see the interviews in Victory Lane again. I think the Xfinity winner from this race 4 years ago would probably venture to, if I had to venture a guess, he would probably agree with me on that. Just very frustrating from that perspective as well. And then the most important thing and the most serious thing, Norm Benning, want to send our best wishes to him. We'll pull up the second page of the results here for you all. Good to see Norm back out there again. At the age of 73, still out here doing what he loves to do. Unfortunate that he had an engine quite literally blow up and catch on fire coming down the backstretch, and a very scary situation. He was able to get out of a truck, but just kind of fell out and collapsed. He said he couldn't hold his breath any longer, ended up inhaling some smoke and fumes and had to get treated at the care center. And really quite frightening, scary situation. I mean, you have to remember, Norm is 73 years old.
73, yeah, he's your grandpa.
At 73, to be in a situation like that, it's pretty frightening.
Yeah. And
for Fox Sports to not give us any update, even if there is no update, you can't sign off the air without saying we send our best to Norm Benning, of course, and stay tuned to our social media pages for any further updates. As soon as we have them, we'll pass them along to you. There wasn't even that. We couldn't. It was as if the incident had been completely forgotten about. Didn't happen. And I just, again, continue to be amazed. I remember on this very campus 6 years ago, after the spring race at Talladega, my friend Matthew Cole and I, in the Scott radio booth, were talking about the Fox coverage of the Talladega weekend. And my friend Matt said it was almost like a local station of high school and college interns had tried to put this broadcast together. I don't know, man. I almost think that some of the communications majors I went to college with maybe could do just as good a job, if not even a slightly better job, at what Fox Sports has been doing the last several years. And that's the final thing. I don't doubt it. Yeah. This was on Big Fox. I mean, it's not like, well, at least this was on FS2 and maybe 50,000 people were watching. No, this was on Big Fox.
The big stage.
Fox, Friday at 4 p.m. I had the ticker going across my Boston 25 feed saying, hey, if you're looking for local news, this is a special Fox Sports presentation. You can log on to boston25news.com to catch the 4 o'clock news here. But we're showcasing a rare Friday afternoon Truck Series race for you all on network television. And I don't think the viewers got a very good product. I hate to say it.
Yeah. It's like that finish is as clean as it is. And it was literally setting up for any play-by-play turn announcer, it's setting up exactly what you need to say, and it's literally handing you in a very nice, organized basket the excitement, the energy level you need to have, and in the simplest way too. And we didn't get it. Yeah, and it pains me it pains me to still see that Jamie Little is struggling there. I mean, maybe not from the Fox producer's perspective, but from a mass majority opinion, is struggling in the booth. It pains me to see that. I mean, again, I'm on the record as saying I want to see her succeed in that role, but man, she's so much better as a pit road reporter. I mean, just exceptional. And she can cross over to IndyCar just like that and come right back to stock cars. And she is phenomenal on pit road. She can do more from pit road than most others can because of her years of being in that part of the industry. But yeah, it has not. The experiment is over. It has not, and it is not translating over to the booth.
Yeah, well, I know my friend, our friend Matthew Owens, has said he would like to see her have a little bit more direction and a more consistent booth to work with here, because they've been taking her back and forth between trucks and ARCA, and
yeah, that can't help.
How many driver analysts that she's had to work with, and how impossible it is to build chemistry like that. But
the driver all-star thing has gotten so old too. I mean, it's a sad excuse of not hiring real talent to be in your booth.
Yeah, honestly,
it's an excuse. Like, just hire people that will consistently be there week in and week out. Adam Alexander, like, the CW gets it. You got to have that consistent your voice all year long. If you're going to have the series all year long, you better have some consistent talent all year long to back it up too.
Yeah, well, even they did bring some Cup All-Stars into the booth over the summer months, I think. But yeah, you're right. For the most part, it has been Adam Alexander, Parker Kligerman, and Jamie McMurray, which I think is good. Gives them an opportunity to build chemistry there. But yeah, I mean, and especially when you have a guy like Eric Brennan, who has been killing it on the ARCA broadcasts, waiting in the wings, so to speak. I don't run Fox Sports, but if I did run Fox Sports, I think that would be a pretty easy call to shift Jamie back to pit road, which I would hate for that to be viewed as a demotion. Because like you said, Brennan, I think she has excelled in that role, and I think she could exceed in that role again in the Truck Series, especially. But yeah, at a certain point, just looking at the fan reaction, it becomes kind of impossible to deny at this point that I think a change needs to be made going into 26. And that is, like I said, just one area where Fox Sports has a lot that they could. I mean,
that's not the reason the Baja is out, per se.
We are in year one. We are back in year one of a 7-year contract here with this sport. And again, for them to be the exclusive partner of this series, I don't know, man.
It's an insult to the series some weeks.
Yeah, it feels it feels untenable in many respects. So, but then again, it has felt that way for over half a decade now, I would say, at least. And not much has changed. I think if anything, it's even regressed further back than it was in the mid to late 2010s. So,
and viewer, that's all the more reason. That's all the more reason to be syncing up your TV with MRN, or excuse me, with the NASCAR Racing Network, which is the partnership with MRN and PRN doing the Craftsman Truck Series races. All the more reason to get that synced up. They do a phenomenal job.
Yes, they do. All right. Well, we are at not quite 40 minutes here, it looks like. So let's shoot the breeze here, so to speak, Brandon, for a few minutes before we wrap up the show tonight. We had, I think, a pretty exciting finish to the Cup Series race. I still don't know, but it was would necessarily be good enough for me to vote yes on the Gluck poll, given the super speedway racing that I grew up with. But I think for the next gen era, pretty decent showing for the Cup Series. Although again, that's not saying as much. You certainly remember how fans were feeling after the spring race here. But credit where credit is due. I think pretty exciting finish, and again, relatively clean. I know Byron spun out at the end, but Chase Briscoe, man, he looks like a legitimate championship contender. And I don't know that I would have predicted that going into year one for him and Joe Gibbs Racing. I knew he was probably better than what his Stewart-Haas Racing results were showing. I know he did get a couple wins there, including at Phoenix, by the way, in 2022 on the spring race. So keep your eye on him. He looks like he could be, can't even say looks like now, he is in the Championship 4. He could be the Cup Series champion in 2 weeks' time at Phoenix.
Yeah, it is. It's been a phenomenal. It's, even if he doesn't, I've said this before, even if he doesn't take the championship, it's already going to be probably one of the best rookie seasons that, rookie seasons at Joe Gibbs Racing.
Sure. Yeah.
Anyway, in our time. I mean, just what an amazing debut there for the coach, and to come in, with a new manufacturer for Chase Briscoe, and to have to leave an organization that was once a stalwart championship winning organization that just shut down and crumbled beneath his feet. And picking up the win there at Darlington at the Southern 500 in 2024, and just kind of the uncertainty of what would be ahead. Knowing he did have a ride though, and Martin Truex Jr. was leaving full time. By the way, where is that guy? Looking for you, Martin. Or I hope you're having fun wherever you are. But Chase Briscoe coming into 2025, picking up. It was really fast in qualifying, picking up poles here and there. That's kind of what they were known for at the beginning of the season, but really started picking up speed. And is a legitimate shot to win this championship. And we might very well be talking about 3 Joe Gibbs racing entries against a Penske or a Hendrick. That's in all likelihood. But yeah, it's really crazy to see how quickly he's come to grips or come to speed with Joe Gibbs Racing, and he would be he'd be a fan, majority. I think a majority of the fan base would applaud a Chase Briscoe championship. It'd be a job well done.
Yeah, Brandon, what comes to mind for me, I think, would be Kyle Busch in 2008. I believe he won 8 of the first.
Oh, yeah. That was a big year.
Yeah, but then he totally collapsed. I mean, that was the first time I heard the phrase "the Big Three" in NASCAR racing, because that was Jimmy Johnson and Carl Edwards. And Jimmy and Carl really did slug it out for the title. Obviously, Jimmy pulled away at the end there. But Kyle just completely fell apart at the start of Chase and never really recovered from that. And then Matt Kenseth in 2013, after he had obviously won a championship with Roush and had been very successful with Roush for many years. But I think he maybe saw the writing on the wall at Roush, probably got out of there right at about the right time, and had a great second act of his career over at Gibbs. And again, ran into Jimmy Johnson there, kind of ironically. Couldn't get the job done in the Chase, even though it was a very successful year for him. Had to settle for second behind Jimmy in that battle. And then obviously Carl Edwards, I think, came in very well in his last 2 years at Gibbs. Everybody remembers 2016 when he was in strong position to win the title, and we all know what happened there in the closing laps of that Homestead race. But knowing those guys, I mean, I think Chase is much more comparable to Kyle Busch in 2008 in terms of Cup Series experience and having a few wins under your belt, but now really showing what he can do in elite level equipment. Not that Kyle didn't have it at Hendrick or Chase at SHR for the first couple of years, I guess you could say. But obviously, and you heard Chase say it this year. It was kind of remarkable to him how differently he had to adapt his driving style because the equipment was so much better. You could just feel it going through the turns at an intermediate track. Being able to hold the throttle for longer than he was in the SHR cars. Which again, I think shows that equipment makes a massive difference here. Maybe not quite as much at a track like Talladega. Of course, if you've got the pace to hang in the draft and can play your cards right, you can pull into victory lane, and that's exactly what he did yesterday. But again, it could be setting up for a repeat of 2019. I think Gibbs has a very strong chance to put 3 cars in the championship 4 here. So again, it can all change with a new winner at Martinsville, and so we'll keep our eye on what happens this weekend. A little bit of an interesting point situation. Really, don't think there's going to be too much drama there unless something crazy happens in the stages where somebody can make up 20 points, because I think 36 is the gap between fourth and fifth right now. So it looks like it's probably going to take a new winner for somebody to leapfrog their way up there. But yeah, a very, very entertaining finish to the Talladega race yesterday at the very least. And congratulations again to Chase Briscoe. And yeah, going to be interesting to see what happens this weekend in Martinsville.
Did they have a stat on the broadcast that Chase Briscoe in the Joe Gibbs 19 was the first one to get a Talladega victory out of Edwards and Truex? It was something to that effect. I
would think he would have to be, because I don't remember Carl ever winning Talladega in that car in the 2 years he was there. Just trying to think off the top of my head. Suarez obviously didn't win in that car, and then I don't know. Did Truex ever win on a super speedway? I don't know if Martin Truex Jr. ever got a Daytona or Talladega win.
Don't talk about 2016 though, but yeah, it was close.
He was very close.
He made the Daytona Day commercial. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, that is true. So I think he has to be the first when Gibbs went to that fourth car in 15, right? So yeah, that has to. I didn't see that stat in the broadcast, but I would imagine that that's an accurate one. All right. Well, let's close out by talking a little bit of F1. I guess it's been about a year and a half that I haven't been a regular on the wrap-up show, so I don't get to talk F1 as much these days. I've been on Grid Tonight a handful of times, but it is the U.S. Grand Prix, which is historically one of my favorite races of the year. And man, I tried to reverse jinx it in our chat, but I had a feeling once Max got through turn one cleanly and solidly with the lead, that was pretty much the race right there. And Brandon, I know you said in our chat afterwards as well, it is quite remarkable what he is doing. Looked like McLaren were going to run away with this, and they have already. I think we might have forgotten they have already clinched the Constructors' Championship based on their dominant summer, and their drivers still at the moment running 1-2 in the Drivers' Championship, Oscar Piastri and Lando Norris. But Max Verstappen will not go away. He has closed that gap rapidly, and with 5 races to go, only 40 points back. Not quite in control of his own destiny. If Oscar follows him home and finishes second in every race, I think he still wins the championship by 2 or 3 or maybe 4 points, depending on how many sprints are left. I know we have at least one. I don't know off the top of my head. It might be 1 or 2. But Max Verstappen still very much in this championship fight nonetheless.
Yeah, he is. And I don't want to take credit for that comment. I think that was somebody else who said it's remarkable what he's doing. I don't think I commented on that. But I will second them that it is remarkable what he's doing there. Oscar Piastri with 346 points, but Verstappen that 306, and with 5 races left to go. Yeah, he's going to have to be on his Piastri's going to have to be on his game. Lando Norris as well is going to have to stay in podiums. But yeah, it will be something if McLaren chokes this. But you know, if they are gonna choke it to anybody, it'll be Max Verstappen without a doubt. That team is just always on another level. They're the new kings, and it's no dispute there. So yeah, for McLaren to be 1-2 in the drivers' standings, it's you're living on borrowed time if there's still races left to go and Max Verstappen's behind you.
Yeah, well, and I think it speaks very highly of Max's talent. I think it was a motorsport.com social media post today. Betting odds, Max Verstappen is now the favorite to win the championship, despite the fact that he is 40 points behind with 5 races to go, driving what I think is objectively a worse car than the McLarens. And I will say this, and I was going to save this for my final thoughts here, but since we're talking about the race here, right now, if Max wins this championship, easily the most impressive of what would be 5 in a row for him. I don't think it's even debatable. I know people might say 21, taking down the defending 4-time 6 of the last 7 champion in Lewis Hamilton, going head-to-head, slugging it out all year. Controversy at Abu Dhabi notwithstanding, it was a very solid year for Max and Lewis, and it's unfortunate that that's what it came down to. But they were neck and neck even all year. But the hole that Max has had to dig himself out of, I remember on a Grid Tonight, it was March or April, we were talking about how the Red Bull might be one of the worst cars on the grid because Max didn't seem to hardly have any answers, and obviously Liam Lawson was struggling, and Yuki Tsunoda's gotten in that car, and And credit where it's due. I believe he finished 7th this weekend. So one of the better results for Yuki since he's gotten in that car. But again, if Max is winning races, you would expect that second Red Bull seat to be able to compete for podiums. And again, we could spend an hour on all the turmoil and everything that's happened at RBR over the last couple of years alone. But I mean, again, I will confess that I have not been a huge fan of Max's driving style over the last several years, but his talent is undeniable, and it is going to make for a very interesting final 5 rounds of the 2025 F1 season.
We've got a really fun slate to do it as well, with Mexico, Brazil, Las Vegas still up, Qatar, and then Abu Dhabi. I'll never forget the championship coming down to the last race there in Abu Dhabi, with enjoying it with the grid team here in the chat. That was just it was a wild day. And then also, Ben, I'm very interested in this points battle with 5 races left to go, and surprisingly there's no playoffs in this scenario here. There's no rounds keeping me engaged. I'm thoroughly entertained in seeing the rest of this all the way to round 24.
It's almost as if that's possible without arbitrary resets in the final rounds. Who would have thought it, right?
No stages either.
No stage points? Yeah. No.
There is an Xfinity fastest lap. They just don't call it that. But other than that,
it is ironic that NASCAR added theirs.
It was borrowed from F1.
Right as F1
borrowed.
took theirs away. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. But again, that's what makes moments like this special. And even if Max does falter and Red Bull isn't able to give him the car that he needs over these last 5 races, you still got a battle between Oscar and Lando. You have a teammate. Like, at least you had that going in 2016. I know people were bored of the Mercedes dominance, but at least Nico Rosberg was able to get up there and challenge Lewis Hamilton. And by the way, if you had told me, and especially after he won the sprint in China, if you had told me that Lewis Hamilton would make it 19 races into the year without stepping on the podium once, I'm not sure I would have believed that.
Ouch.
I certainly expected Charles Leclerc to be the number 1 driver at Ferrari this year. I'm not talking in terms of favoritism. I'm just saying in terms of he's been there for a long time.
He's been there. Yeah.
The cars and the facility and the team a little bit more than a little bit better than Lewis does. Lewis is a little bit older now. He's probably not in the prime of his career. It's going to take him some time to adapt. And I certainly expected Charles to, if Ferrari was going to compete for a championship this year, Leclerc was going to be the one to do it. But I just cannot believe that Lewis Hamilton has broken a record that I never thought he would be the one to break, and that is most starts to begin a Ferrari career in Formula One without stepping on the podium once again. I know he won the sprint in China, but in terms of full Grand Prix races, it's been quite shocking and honestly quite frustrating, because I think, reminds me a lot of, what Kyle Busch is going through right now, what Jimmy Johnson went through the last few years of his career, as bored as you might have gotten of his dominance. I think this is why his British Grand Prix win last year was so popular. The sport is better when he is up front competing and challenging the other greats of this series. And I certainly hope that Ferrari can turn it around in 2026 and give him a car to, if not compete for that 8th world title, at least be able to rack off a couple more podiums, maybe even a couple more wins before he hangs up the helmet for good.
I hope they can. They're one of the more aesthetically pleasing, in my opinion, liveries of the grid each and every year. And I don't care what they try to do. The anniversary stuff, the blue stuff, I don't care. I always enjoy it. But yeah, Hamilton, year 1 with the Prancing Horses has been absolute disaster. And I hope he can come back with it in 2026.
I do as well. Yeah, I have to say, if we've made this joke several times, I think Ferrari's certainly living up to the Dallas Cowboys comparison. But man, Max Verstappen is looking a little Mahomey to me, Brandon. I don't know. Here's a guy who you can never count out. And Red Bull feel like the Chiefs too, man. I mean, somebody got a $50,000 fine for messing with. I don't know. I only very briefly saw the headline there. There's something about the start procedure peeling off a piece of tape around one of the McLarens or something. Don't know exactly off the top of my head. I'm just vaguely remembering that tweet there, but it does feel like, we had this with the cost cap situation. Feels like maybe there's a little bit of New England Patriots in there as well. The dynasty of the sport that's known to bend the rules maybe a little bit, have some favoritism, or some advantageous calls going their way. I don't know. That certainly feels like a pretty apt comparison to me now as well. But we'll see. Obviously, Mahomes got to the Super Bowl last year when a lot of people thought that they wouldn't. Maybe the Chiefs weren't as good as they used to be, and they still got to the championship round. And then we all know what happened after that, especially us over in Philadelphia, right? So maybe Max is going to make it interesting and go to Abu Dhabi with a shot at it, and then McLaren will rise again and take the win anyway. But going to be very interesting to follow these final 5 races, that's for sure. All right, well, let's wrap the show up. Sorry, Brandon, you have anything else you want to add?
Just said indeed.
Yeah, there you go. So let's close out the show for tonight. Brandon, as always, I'll let you go first. What was the one shining moment, the one thing that stood out to you from this weekend at Talladega or in Austin or maybe somewhere else? What do you have?
Well, dang it, Ben. I guess I have to second you because Ryan Vargas is just really impressive. And I'll just leave it at that. I won't steal your thunder there, but congratulations with him and El Toro Loco.
It was a one shining moment so good that there is only one shining moment, and we both have to share it this week. I guess we'll go with that, right? But,
Also, well, congratulations, Trackhouse Racing for their first MotoGP victory. That's something to shout out. What else? That's about it. I'll keep thinking.
Well, like I said, some great runs up here in the top 10. Cesar Baccarella, especially in the top 5. Great results. Yeah, Brandon, you have any?
I remember now. Yeah, Cup Series. Anthony Alfredo, fantastic run on Sunday. He was showing himself up front a lot, but he got relegated to good little driver on the TV broadcast from Jeff Burton. Yeah. I'm sure that was just, he didn't really mean it like that, but it was just funny how he said it. But yeah, Anthony Alfredo doing the double in Talladega and had a really great Sunday with the 62 and Beard Motorsports.
There was one move that I think was a little bit optimistic. I forget who was underneath him, had to go below the yellow line. But
besides that,
was really, yes, impressive that he was able to get up there for the Beard Motorsports team. It only comes out 4 or 6 times a year, depending on what their funding and sponsorship allows. Good run for him nonetheless.
Also, shout out Casey Mears.
Yes, Casey. Yes, thank you as well. Casey Mears, first top 20 for him and for Garage 66 / MBM in a long time.
Mm-hmm.
So great run for them.
He's nearing 600, right? Yep.
Yeah. I think maybe the truck race at Martinsville. Is he on the entry list for that? I feel like I remember hearing that he was maybe going to get in a truck to close the year out. But he is certainly getting there. I know he's trying to rack off as many starts as he can to close out his career. JJ Yaley, congratulations again on getting the opportunity with Spire Motorsports. Unfortunate that it was only a 13th place finish. Kind of got shuffled back there at the end, but was running up front. Picked up some top 10 finishes in the stages. I'm sure JJ's not running for truck points because he's certainly made plenty of cup starts this year. So not that it matters for his resume or anything, but would love to see him get another opportunity in top equipment. I think the journeyman driver has certainly deserved it at this point in his career, and glad to see him out there on Friday. But Brandon, you mentioned it. This is Ryan Vargas right after clinching the overall event championship in his Monster Jam debut. What more can you say about what that young man has accomplished racing here in the Xfinity Series in that TikTok car back in the day, going over to the Euro Series to compete there as well. Now getting in the Monster Jam truck in El Toro Loco and winning the overall event championship in his first weekend with Monster Jam. Just an incredible story for that young driver.
Way to go, Rhino. Absolutely awesome.
Yeah. And I got to confess, I do not follow as much, as closely Monster Jam as I used to back in the day when it was on Speed Channel. I remember waking up, every morning before school. I think reruns of that were on at 7 a.m. and then they came back on at 5 p.m. after that, and frequently getting to tune into both of those. And I wish that it got a little bit more coverage in a platform like that, but Speed was able to showcase it back in the day. But Ryan, I think, was a lot like you and me, Brandon, probably. He grew up watching El Toro Loco,
right?
Great Digger and Max D and Blue Thunder and Bounty Hunter and
Dennis Anderson and all
Dennis
the greats,
Anderson and Tom Mentz and all the greats competing in what is a radically different form of motorsport. And we should point out again, this is the overall event championship. It's not like Ryan won the racing part of the weekend.
Yeah,
and you could say,
right.
well, he is a racer. You would expect him to maybe be able to. He's gotten in a car, in a truck, in a vehicle that is so radically different from what he is used to.
Heavy.
And was able to come out on top across racing and freestyle and the skills competition, doing two-wheel stunts and tricks that, I mean, clearly he learned how to do that somewhere.
Picked it up.
Yeah, not something that you'd expect to be able to pick up from racing Daytona and Darlington and road courses and all that, but just a tremendous story, and certainly worthy of a shining moment. Like we mentioned, wanted to shout him out. Even though we don't talk a ton of Monster Jam on this network, really cool to see somebody from NASCAR going over there and showcasing their talents in a completely different way and getting the job done and bringing home some hardware. Congratulations, Ryan Vargas. Job well done.
Yeah, they are more in the entertainment category these days, unfortunately, with Felt Entertainment. But yes, there is definitely the motorsports part of it that's still there. But yeah, congratulations to Ryan Vargas. On just coming in on debut and getting that done on all those categories is really impressive.
Absolutely. All right, well, that is going to do it for our show here tonight. So thank you all so much for tuning in. As always, be sure to follow us at Grid Network TV on all our social media platforms, X/Twitter, Threads, Blue Sky, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, Twitch, LinkedIn. Most importantly, subscribe to us right here on the YouTube channel and visit our website, gridnetworktv.com. Now, like I mentioned at the start of the show, if you really liked what you saw this evening, you can take a few minutes after the program ends, follow the link in the description box below. Consider joining our Patreon. Join Colin, Deshelle, Mark, Robin, David, and Matthew in investing in the Grid Network to help us continue to expand our coverage throughout the rest of 2025 and beyond. And again, even though we only have 3 more Encore shows after this one, the team is certainly hard at work trying to build for 2026 and beyond. You can help do that by joining these 7 fine individuals on our Patreon page. You can also become a member through the Grid Network YouTube channel, or if you'd rather make a one-time contribution to us instead, you can follow the link in the description box below to buy me a coffee or tip us on YouTube through Super Chat as well. Any amount helps us continue to build and expand our coverage here at the Grid Network. Now, on Wednesday, Grid Tonight will be back. I believe this is the weekend that Joshua Birch is off, but Matt White and Kobe Lambeth will be back to give you all the latest in motorsports news throughout the week. So stay tuned for that as well. The new pre-race show format continues with NASCAR coming up to Martinsville. Stay tuned for an upcoming episode of Women in Motorsports in a few weeks. We'll have F1 Academy still finishing up with their final round at Las Vegas. And, of course, Grid Live to follow with a wrap-up show. Once it's all settled, we'll have our Championship 4 set, and then Encore will be back in a little less than a 167-hour break's time with our recap of Martinsville. Brandon, any final thoughts before we sign off for the evening?
Viva la Mexico and Viva la Mexico, and then also Paperclip. Time to get down to drama and business. We're going to see who comes out headed to Phoenix. 2 more spots to fill and a lot of hearts to break. We'll see.
All right. Well, like I said, my final thoughts were I used them up during the open segment talking about F1. So I will come up with something here on the fly, though, and just say this. I think that there have been some people saying that it is going to be a pretty anticlimactic Cup Series race with what the margins are, assuming that we don't get a new winner. Of course, we do get a new winner, and that throws a wrench in those plans. But in the points battle, I will say it does give me the slightest amount of optimism that we will not see a repeat of the shenanigans that we saw last year, because if the point margins are that big of a difference anyway, one of those drivers is probably going to have to win the race outright to advance to the Championship 4. I don't know that the point scenarios are going to be in a similar position where we get Chevrolets forming a roadblock or Toyota slowing down on the back stretch on the last lap as another Toyota rides the wall. What we can only dream, right? I'm probably being too optimistic here. We'll probably see some shenanigans in at least one of the top 3 series. The Xfinity race is usually pretty chaotic there as well. There will be no shortage of things to talk about, though. So make sure you tune in next week, and we'll bring you all the highlights and the lowlights, if there are any, from the
There's going to be some.
I would imagine there probably will be.
I think there's going to be a lot of Baja Blast. So go ahead and get another pack.
This is my last can, actually. I got to go to the store and pick up some more because I think I'm going to need it.
Yeah,
next week.
got to have some for Monday. Yep.
Yeah, we'll restock here. Got plenty of time to do that as well. For Brandon Crossland, I'm Ben Schneider. Thank you so much for tuning in. We will see you next time right here on the Grid Network. Have a great rest of your week, everybody.